I first got introduced to drones back in 2014 when my dad got one of the first DJI drones. Ever since then, taking to the sky to get new perspectives has really fascinated me, and only lately I've been trying it out more for photography. Taking photos from the sky allows us to get a completely new perspective, and as drones got so accessible over the last years, and you might own one as well, I wanted to make this video to share my favorite tips and techniques for drone photography, so enjoy! We're going to break this down in the 5 most important steps, starting with the gear. I've used many drones in the past. Back in the days I actually owned a Phantom 3. The 2 drones that I've been using the most are the Mavic Pro by DJI and the Dji Mavic Air, which I'm using right now. I really like the Mavic Pro, but I feel like the Mavic Air can do the same, and it is way smaller and lighter, and that makes it easier to carry around. So currently I'm using the Dji Mavic Air, which I would highly recommend. Once you know which gear to use, you should know how to set it up for photography. Once you open the DJI Go 4 app, which is the app that allows you to control the camera, on the right side you have all your camera settings, and you can switch here between photo and video. We are obviously going to switch to photo now, and you can see me here. Hey. And by clicking this icon here under this shutter button, you open up the menu, and then first up we're going to go to the first tab, which is exposure. Usually I keep it at auto because I think it's very good, and when I fly the drone I don't like to go into manual, and you should do that if you want to adjust the settings yourself. So switch over to manual, and then you can adjust your ISO and your shutter speed, and that way you can get the most out of the camera, and you can make sure that the image isn't too grainy because of your super high ISO. But as I said, I keep it at auto usually. One thing that I do though in auto is I underexpose by 1 step, minus 0.3, because the highlights often tend to be way overexposed with drone shots, and so I like to underexpose a little bit. So then we have our exposure, and next step is the camera settings. We can choose the photo mode. We're going to take single shot. There are different options, but usually I do single shot. In image size you could choose between 16:9 or 4:3. I always do 4:3. You can always crop the photo in the end, but 4:3 gives you better image quality. Then image format, here you should definitely choose RAW or JPEG plus RAW. I do JPEG plus RAW usually so that I also have the JPEGs, but make sure that you shoot in RAW so that you can edit your photo in post and tweak it more. Then there is white balance, style and color, and we are going to leave all of this because that can all be done in post if you shoot in RAW. Next up you have this little settings icon. Go there, and then we are going to adjust one thing. Go here to grid and then select grid, and then choose grid lines. There are different types. I usually go with the second. I don't need these diagonals. This helps you with the composition of the photo, and you should definitely do it. Now you're in your photo mode, and there are 2 options to take a photo now. You can either press the button here, very easy. When I fly I like to use this button here, and if you press it, it takes a photo, and that's it. That are the settings that I use for the Dji Mavic Air. The location is super important for drone photography. There are so many cool places to shoot with drones. I like to use it a lot in nature, so forests, landscapes, mountains, because that's where I live. But also big cities are super cool for drone photography because all of the structures and different lines of buildings, and there's a lot to explore in every city. Unfortunately I don't really live near a big city, and one thing to keep in mind, you should also make sure that you are allowed to fly your drone in a city, and you need to worry less about that when you're flying it outside in nature. One thing that you should also keep in mind is the lighting, so the time of the day that you shoot in, and that is going to massively affect your photos. If you're shooting in golden hour, for example, or in a time of the day where the sun is lower, the subjects that you're shooting from the sky will have long shadows, so keep that in mind. But I find that the cloudy sky gives you the best lighting situation for drone photography, because I find that often then you have a lot of dynamic range, and that gives you a very clean photo. Once you've found the perfect location, it is time to think about the composition of your photos. The composition is a very important step of photography in general, and I find that with drone photography you have two options. The one that I find is the most interesting is shooting straight down. To do that, fly your drone pretty high in the air, and then you can search for structures by looking straight down with the camera. For example, search for a road or a river that crosses the forest, or search for leading lines in cities. But you can definitely also try out other camera angles and shoot different perspectives. I believe that shooting straight down gives you the best results with drone photography, but you should definitely try it out yourself and see what works for you. Now that you've followed these first 4 steps and you have been outside to take your photos and you now have a bunch of photos in the SD card, we're moving over to step number 5, which is the editing process. To edit my drone photos I use Adobe Lightroom, we have that here. And sometimes I also use Photoshop for further adjustments, but I'm going to show you everything in a second. As I said before, you should shoot in RAW to get the most out of your photos. And I created some Lightroom presets in the past, especially for drone photos. And if you want them, you can download them for free, they are linked below. And they can really help you to improve your own drone shots and to get more into editing. So you're welcome. Now we are here on my computer in Lightroom. I've selected 3 different photos here from today. I took these 3 photos today, but they are not very easy to edit. You see that the highlights are very overexposed because there was very bright sun, so they are hard to edit. We have 2 with a similar composition, this one and this one of the forest straight looking down. And then we have this one which looks a little bit different. Let's just start with my favorite here. This is the river behind my house, by the way. So let's go to develop here. As you can see in a few parts, the photo looks very blown out. I would not like to go into all the settings now, that could be a whole nother video. We are going to use one of the presets that you can download for free. We have here 3 different presets, Forest, Summit and Urban. For this one, as you can imagine, we are going to take Forest. So let's apply it, and as you can see, it already looks way better. It looks okay, there's some more tweaks that you could do here. For example, make it a little warmer, I would say. Anyway, this video is not about that, and the shot is not the best, so we are going to leave it here. But I would like to show you some other tools that I almost always use in Lightroom for drone shots. First up, we are going to use the mask tool here. Click Option on your keyboard and reset the settings here. What I would like to do with this, I would like the river that you can see here stand out and make it a little brighter. So we are going to bring the exposure down a little bit. I'm going to bring the highlights down and the shadows up a little bit. Lastly, we are going to bring the temperature down a little bit. Now we're just going to start here at the button and paint through this and only select the river. And you can do that with different objects in your photos to make them stand out. And now you can see the river. You can adjust it now here. I will bring this up just a little bit. I like to use that to make subjects stand out a little bit. Next up, we are going to use this gradient filter, so click on there. We are going to draw it here on the button. Just select the button part. You can do this with every photo. Again, click Option on your keyboard and reset the settings here. And then what I would like to do, I would like to fade it a little bit into black. I think that looks kind of cool. So let's bring down the shadows and the overall exposure here. And then I would like to make the button part also a little colder. So let's bring the temperature down to -10 maybe. And lastly, I would also like to make it less saturated. So bring this down a little bit. And now we have on the button here this kind of like faded out look into black, and I like to use that. And that's pretty much it. You could still edit a lot of the green colors here and adjust everything a little bit. But other than that, I think this photo looks kind of cool. Next up, we are going to edit this photo here, which is similar but without the river. So let's go to develop. What I forgot to mention, I already flipped the other photo. Because usually if you shoot the drone, you have the 4x3 photo, for example like this one. But depending on how I would like to have the composition, I go up here to photo and then I say rotate left or rotate right. In this case, I would like to rotate left. As you can see, it makes a huge difference in the composition. The reason why I do that is because if I would like to post it to Instagram, I need this aspect, so I just turn it. And if you use this sort of composition where you shoot straight down, then it doesn't make a difference how you turn it. So we are going to use our preset again, forest, and it doesn't look that good here. This definitely needs to be adjusted. So we're going to leave the highlights, we're going to bring the shadows down and also the blacks down a little bit. Then we're going to bring up this overall exposure, and then we're going to make it a little warmer. I feel like you need to introduce some warmer tones here. And then the last thing that we're going to do, you see the yellow slider here, we're going to bring the luminance down, and that way it's not going to be that blown out. You could definitely also still do some adjustments here with this photo, but we're going to leave it. One thing that I would like to show, I usually use a vignetting on my drone shots, so you just go here to vignetting, you bring this down, and I also play around with the feather usually, and I think it looks better if you bring it up to avoid harsh lines and harsh contrast. The last thing that we're going to do is crop this photo for Instagram, so let's go up here to the crop, and then Instagram wants us to crop it to 4:5. That's how you usually upload, so select 4:5, and now you can select the part of the photo that you want. I'm just going to choose this, and that's it, that's our photo. Now there's one more step that I would like to show you in Photoshop that you can do to further edit your photo. So let's go on the photo down here and do right click, and then you can select edit in, and you're going to choose edit in Photoshop. You obviously need to have Photoshop for this, and then it opens up automatically the photo in Photoshop. I would like to show you how you can remove certain parts or fix certain things. Now we have our photo opened up here in Photoshop, and what I would like to do in this photo, it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more challenging, but we're going to try it anyway. I would like to remove, you see this part here where there are no trees. I would like to fill in some trees here and remove the blank area so that we have trees all over here, and the street here should go on, but then we would like to have trees here. And I like to do things like this to make my composition more clean. Often I also remove parts with this technique. As I've said with this example, it's not very easy to do it, but we're going to try it anyway, just that you see how it works. We're going to use a super helpful tool, the clone stamp tool, and that is this tool here. And now what you want to do, first right click here, and then you can choose the size of the part that you would like to copy. You basically just copy one part of the frame and put it somewhere else. To start with, we're going to make it larger to fill out this space here, so around 300, and then the hardness, you should bring that up, not to 100, but I think 70 or 80 works great. Press option, and now you can select the part that you would like to copy. So we are just going to take a part of the forest here, and now you can see you can copy it in here. As I've said, you need to play around a little bit. You need to try a lot here, and it doesn't always work perfectly. But if you practice a little bit with this, I think it works pretty good. So now I would say that it's already pretty good. I would already leave it here. Here's the thing, if you now look at this, you might see a few parts that look a little bit unnatural. But if you zoom out here and you don't know that you've used this technique, you really can't see anything. I don't believe that anyone is going to comment under your Instagram post that you might have removed something here, or if you look at this image, you can't tell that we've done anything. So that's our photo. Now we're just going to export it. We're going to say File, Export As. We're obviously going to select JPEG and go with the maximum quality, and then we're going to export it to our desktop, and that's it. We now have our exported photo that we can share on Instagram. It's now 4:5. I can now select it here and choose share and airdrop, and then I have it on my phone. That's the power of Apple. Here we have it now. This is our final photo to share on Instagram. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned something here, and now you can maybe improve your own drone photos. And I'm sure if you follow all these steps and edit your photos, you will get great results with your Dji Mavic or Mavic Air. And if you do try out drone photography, please let me know about it. DM me your photos on Instagram. I would like to see your work and see other people's drone shots. As I've said before, if you want my Lightroom presets for drone photos, you can download them for free below if you want and have fun playing around with them. So thanks for watching, everyone. It was nice to hang out with you again. I will hopefully see you then in the next video. Peace out. Tschüss.